Today, I'm visiting Fort Matanzas National Monument in northern Florida, and more awesome history is coming up next. Well, I am so excited, guys. I'm finally here at Fort Matanzas National Monument. Just got my passport stamp, so excited about that. Now gonna go on a really cool ferry ride across the Matanzas River to the fort and explore that. So, yippee-yay, more fun ahead.
Ready for our adventure?
Yes!
All right. My name's Grant Rasmussen. On behalf of the National Park Service, I do welcome you to Fort Matanzas National Monument, the watchtower at the Matanzas Inlet. This sentinel of our Spanish-American heritage stands today nearly 276 years old, strategically located to protect the back door to St. Augustine, the Matanzas Inlet. Construction began in the fall of 1740 by the Spanish, but a lot has changed since then. The inlet has shifted by a half mile. In other words, that entire bridge expanse would have been wide open to the Atlantic. This fort had a commanding view of the inlet. The island was much, much smaller. In 1937, the Corps of Engineers dredged open the intercoastal waterway that you see off to the west here, connecting the Matanzas River to the Halifax south of here, down near Daytona Beach, using the spoils or dredging from that to fill in between several different islands, increasing it from 2 acres in size to 200 acres today. The stream that you see cutting across was about our southern edge, and just like the sandbars, at high tide, the water would be right up to the base of the fort, about 3 to 5 feet deep. So all the approaches to this fort was by water. The fort's made out of our local stone. It's a very special, unique stone found in our barrier islands here in East Florida. Does anyone here know what that stone is actually called?
Coquina?
Absolutely, coquina, which means small shell. It's a type of clam the size of a $50 that's died and laid on the seafloor for thousands of years. Layers upon layers in time and pressure form this natural conglomeration or shellstone that the Spanish were able to cut out of the ground just using pickaxes and shovels in fairly moderate sized blocks, about 1 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot. Because the stone is very porous or has lots of air pockets, they set it out in the sun and shade to dry out for at least 6 months. Then stacking it together like Legos, interlocking them, they raised the walls to 30 feet high to the observation deck. From there you can see 8 miles out to the horizon, which is great for the 18th century. Since the large warships were all sailing vessels, wind-driven, they only moved 3 to 4 miles an hour, leaving you 1 to 2 hours before they were on your doorstep. Plenty of time to prepare for an attack. The fort's 50 feet wide by 50 feet long. was plastered inside and out with a lime-based plaster. Basically, the Spanish went down to Home Depot, got themselves a big bag of cement, started mixing that. Now, did they have Home Depot in the 18th century? Of course not. They just had loads. Now, the Spanish made their own cement. What they did was they took the oyster shells, crushed them, and burned them. The fine ash that was left was quick-setting lime, added portions of sand and water, and you had a poor man's cement that they used as a mortar between the blocks and a plaster to seal the stone away from the weather. They then gave the fort a whitewash, so it was a pristine white fort against this green background, kind of like these condominiums across the bay there. They used Georgia red clay in that whitewash to accent it around the cornices or cordons at the base, the top, and the top of the sentry box, giving it the same coloration as the colonial flag of Spain, the cross of Burgundy, the banner that you see flying over the fort. So anyone spying it could see that this was Spanish-owned territory. They backfilled up to the first 10 feet with rubble to create this firm foundation called the terror plinth, which they placed their cannons on. Today we have 2 replica 6-pound iron guns here in the center, head cast in the 90s. On the other hand, the 2 in the corner, those are original 8-pound iron cannons that the Spanish left here in 1821 when they ceded Florida over to the Americans. These are small caliber guns for the time, but they still had a fair reach to them. They could throw a baseball-sized cannonball up to 1.5 miles away. The end of the bridge to the right is about 1 mile from the fort. The larger caliber guns, such as the 18-pound iron cannon that the Spanish would have had here, could throw that cannonball up to 3.5 miles. So easily 3 times that distance out into the Atlantic is what they could reach out and protect from this fort. It took the Spanish 2 years to complete the construction of the watchtower. At that time, the soldiers were sent down here for a month at a time. Usually 7 men, 2 master gunners in charge of the cannons, and 4 enlisted men would share this first level room, as living room, bedroom, and kitchen all in one. The officer in charge had his private quarters upstairs with access to the food stores and gunpowder magazine. From there, a vertical ladder leads up to the observation deck, where watch was kept 24/7 in rotating shifts of 3 to 4 hours. These soldiers acted like our Coast Guard, doing patrols up and down the coastline, salvaging from shipwrecks, saving survivors, and of course keeping an eye out for the enemy, the English, the French, or any pirates in the area, sending word to St. Augustine by boat 15 miles up the river of any unusuality that went on here at the Matanzas Inlet. In 1742, just as the Spanish completed the construction of the watchtower, General James Oglethorpe of the English Crown came down from Fort Frederick up in St. Simons, Georgia. Bringing with him 10 large warships, he planned to use the Matanzas Inlet as that back door to St. Augustine. They anchor out here in the Atlantic and send a couple of rowboats up the inlet to sound it out. As they're dropping their lines to check the depth of the water, all of a sudden a cannonball flies over the top of them. The rear vessel retreats immediately. The second one hesitates. But once they realize that cannonball came from the watchtower, not the sailboat moored in the bay, it retreats away without retaliation. This fort served 80 years of active service. From 1742 to 1821, fired its cannons about a dozen times as warning shots to enemy vessels, which turned them away without further incident. As far as we know, this fort was not fired on, stood strategically located to protect the back door to St. Augustine, Matanzas Inlet, and stands today as a sentinel of our Spanish-American heritage.
Well, thank you everyone so much for watching this video of me exploring Fort Matanzas National Monument. Such a cool fort, awesome history. So glad I had the opportunity to come here and share a slice of it with you guys. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this sort of stuff, please be sure to check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/tnphotobug. And until next time, this is History Buff TN Photobug signing out. I'm indeed having a blast from the past.